Welcome back. Before the break, we were talking about certain very intricate scientific problems, and I hope that you and I understand. Yes, Dr. Professor Shamsher Ali, the point was we were saying that what is the mystery behind something that you explained?
Yeah, there would be tremendous problem, as I understood later, if the beryllium 8 was stable.
Right.
There could be stellar explosions, a lot of energy would have spent. But then this question of life being formed of carbon atoms, there was the rescue wars that was in the formation of carbon through this resonant states. But the question still remained, why is beryllium 8 unstable? Why did God make it so? If you think that there is an anthropological principle, we calculated. I mean, this was only a part of our work in hypernuclear physics. Right. We calculated it from phenomenological point of view. We calculated it from the resonating group model, from first principles, starting from the interaction between two nucleons. How do you build up the interactions between two alpha particles? We calculate the phases, everything. That's a matter of details. What we found is that the system is unbound by only 94 keV. It's less than 1 million electron volts, 94 kilo electron volts. And if then the question was that there was a scientist called Narlikar who worked with Hoyle and Narlikar. Narlikar once wrote an article pointing to this fact and the stability of beryllium 8. He said that the Lord of the universe, well, he created it. If you believe there was a creator, then he made this universe in such a manner that not even the slightest thing escaped his notice. He had to make beryllium 8 unstable. Otherwise, there would be a problem. So I didn't know that I was working on a fact of great astronomical importance. Anyway, we did this work. But for the audience, I would like to say that if anyone wants to know more about it, this is a work I did more than 50 years ago. I did a lot of other works, but it was so useful. People have been using it even now. Whoever involves himself in the cluster model alpha particles uses our potential. So if you go to the internet and write the Google and write Ali Bodmer, B-O-D-M-E-R, with which I did this work, Ali Bodmer alpha potential, then you find all the researches that have been going on following our potential for the last 50 years in literature.
Right.
Anyway, I did PhD, went back to the Atomic Energy Center, Dhaka, and after a few years, and I was just a young boy, so to say. I was not even 30 years. But there was one gentleman called I.H. Usmani. He was a man from UP. He was an ICS, not CSP. He was an ICS, Indian civil servant, and he worked with Thomson. He went back home, did talk with Fazlullah, who was the minister at that time, and he sort of he had tremendous affection for me. And he made me the director of Atomic Energy Center when less than 30 years of my age. So I had to learn bits and pieces of many other fields, because the Atomic Energy Center was a multidisciplinary institute.
When was this?
So this was,
in the 1960s?
From 1970 to 78.
Right.
I was the director of the Atomic Energy Center. It was the only multidisciplinary institute of the Atomic Energy Commission. So that gave me quite a bit of interest in other fields. So I had to move to other fields.
Right.
Then I had the time and the passion to sort of go in to create two universities. One was the Bangla University, which was modeled after the
British
Open University at Milton Keynes. My sister-in-law, Talia Rahman, once drove me to Milton Keynes for the first time, and thereafter I came many times. So, and after years and years
how
of
was this
efforts,
concept accepted in our
no, their
country?
concept was, it was very difficult. They thought I was a mad person when I said it is an open university, is a need for our country. Because a lot of people are left out of education due to poverty, due to disease, due to family conditions,
many
due to lack of
circumstances,
opportunities, due to failure at certain stages. Where do these people go to? And Britain in the 60s thought that its rate of higher education is falling behind that of USSR and that of USA. So they went for distance education, and I had a knack for it because I was already doing science popularization on the media. And I knew that the distance education has a tremendous potential for delivering goods to people. You can teach any subject under the sun. You can write books in such a manner that assuming that the reader has no prior knowledge of this subject. So you start at the beginning, you begin at the beginning, and then you go up building the modules very slowly and write it in such a manner that the person on first reading can understand it.
So finally the program was accepted.
If you go to FOILS, and if somebody wants to learn genetics now, which is a very hot, very favorite field now, we talk of DNA, recombinant DNA, gene splicing, and this and that. Even the last Nobel Prize, which was given for understanding the body clock, that also involves a gene. So they can the members of the public can understand. So you create educated citizenry. And when I first started talking about this in 1976, people said, he's a madman. When I finished, finally, they understood it. The country was a little, I was ahead, my thinking was ahead of that of the country. And when it got established and turned into a mega university, and in 1996, when my term as project director and vice chancellor of the Open University was over, the journalist asked me, "Sir, how do you feel?" I said, "Well, I now understand that back 20 years earlier, I really was a mad person." But the difference between then and now is, now the entire country is mad for the Open University.
So how many students roughly are?
Well, I can't say right now at this, thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands, about 500,000 people. Half a million people, more than 500,000 people.
And they have graduated.
They are graduating. The girls who were left out of the school, couldn't pass high school, they come back. We made special courses for them, for those who are grade in 8, so 2 more years. And they pass the high school, they can get employed in a sort of village work, they can teach in a school.
Who are the faculty members?
The Open University doesn't have regular faculty members like teachers.
Right.
What happens is that you choose a subject, write modules, the papers, then send them to the students at their own homes, they receive it there. Then you have programs on radio and television, arrange for them. I had arranged to have some time on television. In some countries you have a television dedicated, a channel dedicated to this work. And people who are working, for example, at night or day, they cannot listen. They just record the programs and they watch it at later times at their convenience. So you have this radio and television program, and then you have the tutorial centers. So the women, especially the women, village women, they finish their works on Friday, and they very early feed their father-in-laws, their husbands, all the people. They cook them. and they go to the study center. We have study
Right.
centers at different places, and they have read it at home. But if some of the ideas are not clear, very obscure, they can ask questions and they get their ideas clarified
Right.
from the teachers. So those teachers are not permanent teachers. They are on our roll, but they can work at some else. For example,
They're like
here in
consultants.
Britain, you have many people, the high energy physicists, you have many people who were even Nobel laureates, the one who studied the brain. He was associated with Open University.
Mm-hmm.
They come and give sort of lectures at certain times. So the quality, I mean, people raised questions about quality. And this is a point I really want to make very strongly. You talk of quality. In a conventional classroom, if a student hasn't understood and said, "Sir, I didn't understand that point," and the teacher, if he repeats his thing in the same old manner, and then the student said, "Sir, it is still not clear to me," then the teacher says, "Oh, you're not studying hard," the student gets frightened.
Okay. The teacher gets annoyed.
Yeah, but now when you are giving a lecture on the distance mode, because of the sky culture, everybody in the world is watching you. Is watching you for your dress, for the pronunciation, for the content of your lecture, whether it is up to date, whether your mode of delivery, whether what you are saying is going over the heads or entering into the hearts.
Right.
So you are being watched. You are being evaluated spontaneously.
Right. On the
So
other hand,
the
the
quality
student can
has,
record it.
of necessity, the quality has to be right. And unless the advantage is that you are recording the program, and if you think that the program is not worth watching, you say, "All right, have a cup of tea, go home." So you make this program only when you find it's absolutely understandable,
Okay.
and it will deliver the goods.
Right. Away from distance learning, I mean, you have delivered a number of, probably hundreds of talks on Bangladesh television. Probably that was part of distance learning.
Yeah. There's a great interest in
well, it's a
popularization
very interesting
of science.
topic. I mean, it's about genetics. Why do I look like my daddy?
Well, you see, now we do understand that when a sort of male cell and a female cell, they get united, reproductive cell, they get united. So many of the characteristics, they are transmitted to the child from the side of the father, from the side of the mother. And, this is a very established fact that whether a woman is having a son or a daughter does not depend on the woman.
Yes.
Because the woman has only X chromosome. The man has the X and Y chromosome. So the Y chromosome is not transmitted to the zygote. Then how can the woman have a male child?
It was socially
And
made responsible.
in parts of Asia, in India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, if a woman has 3-4 kids and they're all daughters, then the husband is in a problem. There's a problem because how to get them married, and as if you have to pay a lot of dowry on this. But the social aspect is they say, "Oh, I do not have my ancestor, my progeny. There will be no progeny."
It's not a time for divorce, but we need to take this break.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll be back after this short break. Thank you.